All right, Algebra 2 should be Friday, May 7th, I think. Yeah. Every day rolls into another. Maybe it's the 8th, but it's Friday. Okay, so I put an exit ticket, but there's really two parts. The first one I'm going to do, so maybe this is like a do now, and then the second one you're going to hand in. All right, and they're very similar. So just trying to summarize these last three lessons here. So you got a function here, so you pass the vertical line test. And then g of x is some sort of distortion, a transformation. And there's three things happening on this one. I got a negative, I got a 2, and I got this plus 3. So what three transformations have occurred, and put them in the right order? What order? Well, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We always do multiplication before we do addition, right? So I'm multiplying by negative 2. Now they're both taking place at the same time, so I'm going to say, I don't know, we'll say the negative first. The negative, what does that do? That should reflect. That's a reflection. What kind of reflection? If a negative is on the outside, in the previous lesson you should have seen, that means it's going to flip. It's going to reflect across the x-axis. Reflects across x-axis. If the negative was on the inside, it would reflect across the y-axis, but it's on the outside. All right, and then we got the 2. What is that doing? That is some sort of dilation. It's a stretch. It's going to be a vertical stretch. Vertical stretch by 2. Vertically stretching by 2. It's not the same thing as dilation, which is what you did last year, because that's vertical and horizontal. The next lesson that you're going to do on, I think, Monday or Tuesday or sometime next week is the horizontal stretching. So vertical stretch by 2, which means it only affects y. And then the plus 3 comes at the end. So what does that do? That's a shift. That's a translation. Shift up 3 units. Okay. Now, there's 4 points. We're going to take each of those points and do these 3 things. By the way, 1 and 2 could have gone in either order. If somebody said, no, I'm going to vertically stretch by 2 and then I'm going to reflect, that's okay. These could go in either order, but this had to come last. All right, I'm going to go in the same order. Reflect across the x-axis. So if I took this point, which is negative 6, negative 2, and I reflected it, where would it go? It would go here. I'm going to draw it very lightly. I'm going to erase it in a second. So where would it go? It'd still be negative 6, but then it'd be positive 2. Positive 2. Then I'm going to vertically stretch it by 2. I'm going to double it. So instead of being height 2, it's going to come up here to height 4. So it's going to be 6, 4. And then I'm going to shift it up 3 more units. It's going to go up 1, 2, 3. It's going to end up there. So it reflects, it vertically stretches, and then it shifts up. So I'll get rid of these other 2. Where do I end up? Negative 6. Or sorry, yeah, negative 6. Negative 6 and 7 is where it ends up. So this point ends up there after I do all 3 transformations. Repeat. Take this point, I'm going to reflect it. It's going to go negative 3, negative 2. Then I'm going to stretch it. I'm going to double it. It's going to go to 4, right? Take 2 and you double it, it goes to 4. Negative 3, negative 4. But then I'm going to move it up 3 units. 1, 2, 3. It's going to end up right there. So get rid of those 2. And this is the end result, which is negative 3. Negative 1. You notice that only the y coordinate's being affected. I'll connect them together in a minute. All right, where's the next point? Over 2, up 1. We're going to reflect it. So it's going to go over 2, down 1. Then we're going to double it. Over 2, down negative 2. And then we're going to add 3 to that. Over 2, up 1. So kind of a weird situation. It lands right back on itself. It reflected. It doubled, right? I gotta think about that. Did I get that right? No. Let's try that one more time. But, yeah. It reflected, it doubled, and then it moved 3 places up and it landed right back on the same spot where it started. Kind of strange. All right, this last point. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 5. Reflect it. 5, negative 5. Then double it. It's going to go off my graph paper. 5, negative 10. But then I'm going to move it up 3 places. 5, negative 7. So it's going to end up at 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right there. All right, take my straight edge. Actually, the calculator cover still. Well, clearly you can see it flipped. Hopefully you can see it stretched. And it also shifted up 3 units. It's kind of hard to see all 3 transformations, but you can definitely see it reflected. Some stretching out taking place, and then it shifted up. So your problem is almost identical. In fact, here's the picture. You tell me what the 3 transformations are, explain it in words like I did. Take the 4 coordinates, show me what's happening, plot it, draw it. That's what you got to do. That's the other 5 points. So 5 points for doing a lesson and 5 points for doing this. All right, stay safe.